Now remember, you're supposed to put them in the screen backwards now.
We saved our lives.
Like when you put it back in there, just reverse it back over again. It's kind of easy to mess up putting it in the screen backwards if you're not used to it. On this job here now, you know, when I'd asked on the board here a while back if anybody had used that nylon polyester ink, the low bleed white, the poly ink for transfers before, you know, you said you had. And since it's one of the ones that I believe, I just went ahead and did it. But now what I was after was still the opacity on those polyester shirts. And I'm going to deal with that with ink volume, because I put each of these three colors in the screen in something like a 110, 120. So I'll have the ink volume, but when I heat press it on there at 330 degrees for 30 seconds with the medium pressure like I did, it's not that thick any longer, but it's still really, really opaque. Okay, I couldn't walk away from this without like showing the foam, because see, there's 5 sheets of foam in there, and when the glass goes down on it and compresses, it works just every bit as good as any vacuum I've ever been on. Now, I wasn't talking about don't use the vacuum, because the vacuum will give you a better seal each and every time, but I'm kind of into this speed printing now, and that foam stuff, I don't have to wait on it at all, and it does work for me. And this emulsion is a whole lot stronger than what you think it is, and I've always thought you should get a screen wet, then get the emulsion out of there as fast as you can without just blowing a hole in it. And it helps me with pinholes, and it helps me only blowing out the areas I want to blow out. I think if you leave it wet for a long time, it gets soft enough that finally it's going to start breaking down here, regardless if your exposure time is right or not. Now from here, I'll take a piece of newspaper. I'm going to blot the back and either set it out in the sun on a drying. My camera went dead on me when I was talking about blowing that stuff out, about how tough it is. You can really get on it a lot more than you think, and you know, it's a bunch of people that blow it out with pressure washers. This here is what I use to tape a screen, and I use 3 or 4 different kinds of tape. A real cheap one, a real good 3-inch, and a real good 2-inch, and I put them on with tape guns. And then now I did put all these in like equivalents of like 110, 120 screens. And when you have one of these, see that didn't blow out right beside of that spade, you can take a brush and some emulsion remover, just dab it on both sides and wait a few minutes and blow it out with air, or just spit in a rag. And for those clouds you get sometimes, you guys that don't blot, spit is the very best thing in the world to take that stuff out. Lacquer thinner will set it, but spit will take it out. Now this is something I picked up from Frog, and I think it was even like over on the old board, it's been so long ago. But he was talking about using contact cement to repair different things, and it would stick and stuff. This right here, my emulsion remover in my dip tank so hot, I have trouble like eating out the glue and stuff on some of them, and I just stapled this one, put contact cement, you know, on the screen real good, stapled it, and then put a piece of tape on top of it to hold it down while it dries, so it keeps most of the bubbles out and everything stays in contact. And it's just like new. And I don't know how many times you'll get a screen that'll be like that, and just maybe a 2 or 3 inch spot breaks loose. You can put that contact cement on there, staple it if you want to. I don't even staple it anymore. I just put contact cement on it, a piece of tape on top of it to keep it connected while it's drying, and let her go. Okay, let me close this sample I was making out. And when I was talking about taking the paintbrush now and dabbing that little leftover place you need to get popped out of the screen, you can also do that with your blowout gun if it's in a place to where you can get to it. I don't know which one of these it is. Nope. Go back to this file. I keep a clients folder on the desktop. Those are my clients. These are my Army jobs. And the one I'm working for is Delta Troop. And this one. I put everything to do with the job all on there and just slide it around when I need to and print. So everything's all there together. And this is going to take too long. I'm going to cut it off. Okay, here it is. It's named transfers. Imagine that. But just gang them up where you want them on your drawing board and then just move them over. I just leave the register marks and the outline box, contour box, whatever you want to call it, and just leave the file set up for the transfers there, and actually named it transfers. Imagine that. I think it's really important to shrink the transfer paper first, and I shrink it at the same temperature speed that I cure it, because I really believe if you shrink and cure at two different temperatures that it shrinks two different amounts. But maybe I'm overthinking it. This is a question here that comes up every winter. People want to know what kind of like heater to put in a print shop. This one right here is the one that it's just propane from my tank here. It's the one that glows. It's not the one that's got the blue flame. I don't like those because those put soot everywhere. Okay, when your paper starts coming out, get it somewhere where you can lay it opposite way down. Because see how it's trying to curl right there? That will take that curl out of it when the piece of paper cools off. Okay, when you get ready to start the printing part, you know, you got to have it back upside down again to line it up. Everything's backwards on these. And then my old manual palettes are so hard that this here is nothing but the embroidery puffet stuff you buy in sheets. And it's not overly soft and by no means hard. And it helps me get a good even coat of ink on the transfer, because you know that will make a difference in color because of the difference in opacity, especially on solid colors. It makes for, I think, a lot better print. But like I said, I'm in like, you know, 110s, 120s again, and I'm using all medium squeegees, and I'm hitting everything just one time. Okay, this is powdering. And this is one of them school trays I told you I bought so many of. You just get everything good and powdered and then flick the chunks off and run it through the dryer. This thing right here, I don't know if you can see it. See that stainless steel thing right there? It's got doors on both sides and the tops open up. They're made to store trays in schools. If you go to a school auction, whichever bunch of schools, they have one every so often. These things are like $300 to $500 new, and I bought everything I wanted plus a couple of friends some for like $50, $60, $70 a piece, and they're on wheels and they're just great in a print shop. Okay, you can see here I'm pretty close. I'm about an inch and a half above, flashing at 470 degrees and flashing for 5 seconds. Okay, now when you get done, after they come out of the dryer on the other end, see on that red right there where it's still just a little bit of white powder on it? That right there, for something you're going to use right away, is perfect for a plastisol transfer. If you're going to store some, like in an airtight bag, extras for the job, it's better to go ahead and make the powder go away. Just that much more heat or that much slower belt. Okay, now one thing I didn't say anything about, you know, everybody talks so often about if you over cure on a flash or if you over cure through the dryer that it won't make it work. Well, on a transfer, if you over cure it, I guarantee it won't work. So that's why you want everything just gelled to the touch, and then the rest of it done like what I just showed you as far as the powder. And then when you're done printing the transfer, I mean, not saying this is the only way to do it, but I do not flash the last color. I leave it completely wet. I think it just absorbs so much more powder. Okay, to finish this one up here, you know, y'all told me to put paper, like butcher's paper or Teflon, over them to knock the shine down. Do that 3 seconds at the same operating temperature that you're putting the transfers on at. And like I said, I do transfer 330 degrees for 30 seconds. And then when you get done, look, see if they're even. That's pretty good. And then there's the back for the guys. There's the front. Okay, got that.